Hey you, yes you, welcome to this course I created. It's based upon the 13 goals for a witch that you can see on the screen. Each time we meet, we will work on one of these 13 goals. In the previous two videos, we covered Know Yourself and Know Your Craft. Today, we delve into number 3, Learn and Grow. It's important to recall that this goal will never be accomplished. It's a lifelong journey. I like to say, progress, not perfection. We live in exciting times. The world's entire knowledge is at our fingertips through our smartphones, tablets, or laptops. We can choose to learn together like we're doing right now. We can choose to read books or web pages alone. We can go outside and learn about herbs, plants, bushes, and trees. We can experiment with spells. As my favorite scientist Einstein said, question everything, ask why, and dig deeper and deeper into the pool of knowledge. But beware. Like this meme shows us, not everything on the internet is true. I know, shocking, right? You don't need to spend a fortune. Use a library. Or share mine. I have an extensive e-library and I'm more than happy to share. Here are a few titles of my over 230 ebooks. For relatively small amounts of money, you can plant seeds, grow a garden. As you start to learn and grow, if you're so inclined, you can start adding stuff to a book of shadows. A book of shadows is a book containing text, pictures, instructions for magical rituals. Since its conception in the 1970s, it has made its way into many pagan practices and paths. The most famous Book of Shadows was created by the pioneering Wiccan Gerald Gardner sometime in the late 1940s or early 1950s, and which he utilized first in his Bricket Wood coven, and then in other covens which he founded in following decades. The Book of Shadows is also used by other Wiccan traditions, such as Alexandrian Wicca. In the ideal world, we would all have unlimited money and boundless free time, and would be able to travel the globe and look at the historical sites, like Stonehenge. In the real world, we have the internet and small pockets of time in between our jobs and chores. Here are a few links for virtual tours of famous historical sites like Stonehenge, the Acropolis, Petra, the Pyramids of Giza, and more. As you start your learning, you should choose your own path. Witchcraft is a very personal choice. The path will call to you. You'll learn something, and it will sometimes pull you in deeper. Always listen to that inner voice. That's your higher self guiding you. Sometimes you will feel like your soul is remembering things you once knew but have long forgotten. Kind of like a déjà vu. I'm going to review some basics with you next. Starting with paganism. It's an umbrella term for religions other than the Abrahamic faiths of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, that typically places emphasis on the earth and nature. Its modern-day practitioners are known as neo-pagans. Wicca, a religion that's perhaps the popularized form of neo-paganism, thanks in large part to the so-called father of Wicca, Gerald Gardner, who cultivated his specific ideology now known as Gardnerian Wicca in the mid-1900s. Whereas witches are typically thought of as women, many Wiccans are men and worship both a god and a goddess. What was initially thought of as an anti-monotheistic gesture, though, has more recently been criticized for espousing heterosexuality and the idea of a gender binary, which was, in part, what led to the emergence of Dianic Wicca in the 1970s, for those who chose to only worship the goddess, and to do so only in the presence of women, a policy that's since proven to be problematic, as many of its covens prohibit transgender women. Voodoo. A traditional Afro-Haitian religion, Voodoo represents a syncretism of the West African Vodun religion and Roman Catholicism by the descendants of the Dahomean, Congo, Yoruba, and other ethnic groups who had been enslaved and transported to colonial Saint-Domingue, as Haiti was known then, and partly Christianized by Roman Catholic missionaries in the 16th and 17th centuries. The word voodoo means spirit or deity in the Fon language of the African kingdom of Dahomey, now Benin. Voodoo is a worldview encompassing philosophy, medicine, justice, and religion. Its fundamental principle is that everything is spirit. Hoodoo, a set of spiritual practices, traditions, and beliefs which was created and concealed from slaveholders by enslaved Africans in North America. Hoodoo evolved from various traditional African religions and practices, and in the American South incorporated various elements of indigenous botanical knowledge. Santeria, or Way of the Saints. It's an Afro-Caribbean religion based on Yoruba beliefs and traditions, with some Roman Catholic elements added in. Santeria is a syncretic religion that grew out of the slave trade in Cuba. Brujeria, an umbrella term for African, Caribbean, and indigenous Latin American witchcraft, dating back centuries if not thousands of years. Increasingly, though, the word bruja, Spanish for witch, has been reclaimed by Latin women interested in their heritage and made contemporary by, say, using the gender-neutral term brujix. Ceremonial. The by-the-book practice of placing the highest value in, not to mention expertly executing, ceremonies and rituals. It can be seen as an extension of ritual magic, and in most cases synonymous with it. Popularized by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, it draws on such schools of philosophical and occult thought as Hermetic Kabbalah, Enochian magic, Thelema, and the magic of various grimoires. The synonym magic, with a K, is a term revived by Aleister Crowley, depicted here in the picture. Solitary. This group is made up of those who choose not to find a coven, but instead operate on their own, with the type or mix of witchcraft that they choose. Eclecticism, a more social route for those who choose not to stick to a particular category, but instead mix traditions as they please. Initiation. The rites that put a budding witch on the path to making things official, by joining a coven after studying its practice traditionally for a year and a day. The initiations that follow eventually allow the initiate to the opportunity to become a high priest or high priestess. Those with enough knowledge, experience, and dedication can become the leader of a Wiccan coven. A coven, a gathering or community of initiated witches, usually led by a high priest and or high priestess. If a coven is Wiccan, their meetings often involve sabbats, which are celebrations of the annual cycle of seasonal festivals known as the Wheel of the Year. Non-Sabbat meetings, such as the observation of a full moon are known as SBATs. This list is not exclusive. There are too many for the time we have, and thus we conclude this brief session on Learn and Grow. I hope this has inspired you to dig deeper and learn more about the topics I cover today. Thank you, and be well. Here's my contact info if you have any questions, concerns, complaints, or compliments.